Good evening. It is 7 o'clock on Thursday, April 15th. Time for a new monthly meetup from BlockchainLab Drenthe. I saw a few new names registering for this live stream, so I will start with a short introduction. I am Adrie Wisman, co-founder of BlockchainLab Drenthe, which is a non-profit foundation with the goal to share knowledge, experience and insights about blockchain and distributed ledger technologies in general. We try to help entrepreneurs, students, schools and private persons who want to get involved with this relatively new technology. And we are heavily involved in Interreg project Bling, where Bling stands for Blockchain in Government. This is a project where 13 partners from 6 North Sea region countries cooperate in implementing blockchain for public services. But first, let me start with a service announcement. Please use the YouTube chat function if you want to ask the speaker some questions. Please log in with your Gmail account because YouTube is a Google company and communicate with us. Let us know who you are and where you're from. After this live stream, we will do an informal video call through Jitsi and where you can ask some questions too. So join us. I will show this URL also at the end of this meeting. We have the following agenda for this meetup. I am going to start with news about what's going on in the blockchain space, and today a large portion of my time will be dedicated to scams. Then Jeroen Wester is going to talk about public and private chains. And Danny Dreves will be our third speaker. He will enlighten you about Hyperledger Basic. So, without further ado, let's start our first segment, what's going on in the blockchain space. And as it has become a tradition, I will start my news from the blockchain space with Bitcoin. Here you see the price of this morning, $63,235 US. Who can imagine that? I mean, in January, our January meetup, only a few months ago, it was half that price. And of course, you can still remember a few months ago where everybody would say, well, 20,000, that's a lot. Now we're going towards 100K and everybody is positive. Now, it's a bit less positive than the months before. As you can see, Bitcoin only went up 8%. I mean, most investors would have nice dreams about 8%, but well, yeah, in cryptocurrencies, you do that in 1 month. That's not the biggest news. What we can see when you look down here is that a market cap has grown with about 23%. So the smaller coins are picking up, right? We see that the volume is picking up, the daily volume. We're trading 220 million a day versus last month it was 136 million. And Bitcoin dominance went down from 60% to 52%. So coins like Ethereum, but also much smaller coins, are picking up in price and are really participating in the party. Now, here you can see the Bitcoin price. It has been steadily going up, but it had a resistance on 60,000 US dollars. It has broken that resistance, and we'll have to wait if that resistance becomes support. Boy, this remembers me of my old job as a technical analyst, but here you can see what's going on in the most dominant cryptocurrency at this moment. But it's not the most profit-making cryptocurrency at the moment. There are lots of smaller coins making lots more profit, but even the bigger coins like Ethereum are making better returns, right? Ethereum went up 43% last month versus the not even 8% in Bitcoin. And that's because there is a lot of things going on in Ethereum. I'll come back to that. But the popularity of all these crypto coins is giving some problems also. This is what we talked about last month. Here we talked about the transaction fees and how high they were. Ethereum, you have to pay $21.75 on average, and Bitcoin $20. That was last month. This month the problem even got worse. Average Bitcoin transaction fee is 29 US dollars. So it even went up from 20 to 29. Ethereum transaction fees went a little bit down, but only a few dollars. And this is really crippling the development in these cryptocurrencies, right? If you want to do a large transaction, it's okay, right? If you want to move $100,000 worth of cryptocurrency, what is $20 or $30? But if you want to move small amounts of money, pay for your coffee, this is not going to work. If you want to do transactions with data, persisting a certain hash on Ethereum, and you have to pay $20 US just to store this hash, that's not funny. So this problem was also signaled to the developers, and this month they are already implementing, today they are implementing a new fork in Ethereum. It's called the Berlin update. The Berlin upgrade party is probably this evening. Around noon today, the new version of Ethereum was introduced. It was already tested on the testnet, but today at 12 o'clock there was the switch on the mainnet. And people were looking at this live, at live events. The upgrade consists of lowering gas money for transactions in some aspects, and also making it a little bit more safe. They're adding blacklists, so DOS attacks are less frequent to happen, and a few other improvements. They did not yet implement the 1559 upgrade. We talked about that last month. That's the upgrade where the transaction fees will be totally differently calculated, and hopefully they will go down. That is the London upgrade, and it will be in July or something. In the Shanghai update in October, November somewhere, there will probably, but it's speculating, be the synchronization with the Ethereum 2.0 chain, which is going to work with proof of stake. So lots of things are bubbling and developing in Ethereum, and it's a good thing to keep your eye on that. The news from the last 2-3 days, the most dominant news, was that Coinbase, a very large company which is an exchange, a cryptocurrency exchange, is making the bridge to the conventional finance world. They are taking their stakes, their shares, and putting them on the stock exchange. Now, this was a big hype, right? And what they do is something that is comparable to a new introduction of a new stock on the exchange. But with shares, you have an IPO, a public offering where people write that they would like to have a piece of the company, and they will produce a number of shares. This was a direct listing. So they already had the shares of the Coinbase company, and they took out the shares. They didn't make any more of them. So you as a shareholder will not see your stocks diluted. No, they took the number of shares they had from the company and put them on the stock exchange. Now, this is a way to have investors, conventional investors, also invest in the crypto space, right? So it's a bridge between the old and the new world. Now, they calculated that the value of one stock would be around $250, and they gave all their staff, about 1,700 people, $25,000 US dollars in shares. And well, as soon as the first trade was done, price went up to above 600 US dollars. But as you can see in the graph, the price came down to about 350, 370. So these guys didn't get 25,000, they got nearly 40,000 US dollars as a present. So you can imagine that all these people working there will be happy. All this turmoil on cryptocurrencies, on laws and regulations also shook up the World Economic Forum, and they foresee in the near future that lots of laws are going to be made, lots of regulations are going to be set up, and they foresee that there's going to be lots of drama, lots of different parties and banks, etc., complaining, and lots of new exchanges going by new rules. We already had some lawsuits here in Holland against the Authority of Financial Markets because the rules were too strict. So we're going to see in the next year or two lots of new laws in Germany, in France, in Holland concerning blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Then we come to our topic, scams. And here you see a piece of news that from a scam in 2016, a hack of the Bitfinex exchange, 10,000s of bitcoins were taken out of there. But the ledger is transparent and decentralized, so you cannot just clear your tracks. Everybody is looking at those coins, and you don't have to do that by hand. You just give a computer an address and he will signal you. So what you see here is a tweet from a company called Whale Alert in Amsterdam. And they have some computers tracking those bitcoins, and they saw 1 or 2 days ago that about 10-12% of these coins that were taken from the Bitfinex hacks are on the move. So that they represent about 78 million US dollars, you can have a lot of money. I mean, that's only 12%. You can have a lot of money, but you will not be able to spend it. Because these coins are blacklisted, no exchange will take them from you and exchange them for US dollars, right? So good luck. In the small graph here, you can see what is at the moment going on with these coins, split up over several accounts, but people are watching. So even if you manage to hack into an exchange, then you still don't know how you are going to buy a new car or a new house or whatever with it, because you cannot exchange it for real money. Do you remember this scam? A few years ago there was this Iota seed scam, a nice looking website that could help people generate a master password, an Iota seed for their wallet of 81 characters long, because generating a real random key is not something where humans are very good at. So you could go to that website, press a button, he would generate a key for you, but he would also store it in a database. And when you put money on that wallet, this guy would take it out. I hope you remember. Well, he's been behind lock and bars since the 23rd of January, and he's Dutch. This is a guy from Gorredijk, 70 kilometers from where I live, and the English police published his name and his street, just not his house number, but this person from Gorredijk managed to take out, I believe, a little bit more than $1 million, and now he has to face justice in England, and there are lots of counts that he has to answer for. So this scam didn't work out for him. This is a very recent scam. Yesterday evening, 10 o'clock, I was on YouTube. I looked at some videos of Andreas Antonopoulos, and then I got a message on YouTube. This is something crazy is happening to Ethereum. So I went there, I looked at the video, and there was Vitalik talking to this Chinese looking lady in an interview, and there was this show going on where they said, well, send us 3 Bitcoins or 3 Ethers and we will send you back 6. This is a giveaway. Please do yourself a favor, send your money to us and we will send you back the double of that, because we are just in a good mood. Vitalik wants to stimulate everybody and have a party with you. There were 27,000 people looking at that video, right? And you could send Ethers or Bitcoin. Now, do you remember if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, then it probably is a duck, right? So who would give away free money? And I'll admit, it looked nice, where Vitalik was very relaxed talking to this woman, and I was very afraid that a lot of people would do this. So there are a lot of red flags. There was this website, buterin/giveaway.org, and I of course went there to look. Join the giveaway, right? This website says, well, Vitalik is feeling very happy and content, and he wants to share his wealth with you. So this is your chance to get some of his money. We have 18,000 Ethers we want to give away. Send your money to us and we'll double it for you. Wow, right? What's going on? You see here is a address, a QR code where you can send your money. So that's the first thing you do, right? You check the address. Here on this website, they showed all the transactions, and this was moving, right? And you can see everything you send gets sent back double, right? Everything you send gets sent back double is what they are showing. It's not what they're doing, but that's what they are showing. Remember I said the Berlin update from Ethereum, and there was a party and the block number was 12,244,000. Hey, they're showing a block number of 600 and something. That's strange. Let's take the Ethereum Explorer and look at the address that's on the top. Okay, I put in the address and here you can see the transactions. Well, 50 minutes before I was checking, somebody put in 3 ethers and another one put in 3 ethers, and that's it. In the last hour, nobody put in any other money. That's good. That's hopeful, right? Soon, and minutes after that, the video was taken off of YouTube, right? They were streaming about 18 minutes. All right, I wasn't there from the start, but what I could see is that it was impossible to go back. Normally you have this timeline here under your video. You couldn't rewind and look and watch at the beginning. You could only watch what was going on at this moment. Okay, so it was taken off YouTube, and I was hoping nobody got scammed. So I watched that account a little bit longer, and a few minutes later, the account was cleaned out. So the money that was on there was taken out, was sent to this address, and somebody tried to put in another 3 ethers, but it's probably themselves. So I looked at that address. Here it is. The money came in and went out a few minutes later to Whitebit. And if you look at that account number also, then it's this account number. And Whitebit is a cryptocurrency exchange where you can put your money. So somebody probably registered at that account, at that exchange, is doing this, right? They're not sending any money back, of course. They're just taking it out, and they hoped to get a lot of people donating their ethers or even Bitcoin, because you could choose. I looked at the Bitcoin variation also. Here you have the Bitcoin address. I've used the Bitcoin Explorer, and there was a 0.2 Bitcoin on it. It's about 7,000 US dollars. Nobody put any transactions on it, and nobody took any money out. So also on this account, it didn't work. Now I'm showing you this just to give you an idea of what's going on, to make you a little bit more aware where to look and what to see and what to do when you see a scam. Check what's going on, look at the accounts, where is the money coming from, where is the money going to, etc. And you will certainly see that 99.999% of these public things, donations, etc. are scams. So this is a very simple way to check that out. Okay, so far so good. This is my piece for what's new in the blockchain space. And please don't be discouraged. I showed you a little bit more about scams today than I normally do, but just to educate you of what's going on, so you won't have anything to do when something like this comes along in your mail or from a Nigerian prince or whatever. Okay, let's see if there are any questions in the chat about what we just told you. No, I'm so glad none of you got scammed. And if you see something happening which looks too good to be true, it probably is, but now you know how to check. Okay, if there are no questions at the moment, then we'll go to our next segment of the evening, where Jeroen is going to tell us all about public and private chains.
My name is Jeroen Wester, and I'm going to talk today to you on private and public blockchain networks. Let's give you first the central question. Why would you want to combine private and public blockchain systems? Well, that looks like a boring subject, but it isn't. And it's actually a discussion on a dimension between freedom versus control, or transparency versus privacy. Great topic, complicated. I hope to guide you through it. Please bear with me. No, we're not going to talk about motorcycles only. Actually, that's only a picture, and it's the picture that shows us freedom. I don't know if it's well chosen, but okay, I thought I'd give it a try. Bicycles, it will be on the next slide, I think. But the overview of this presentation is what is the problem with private and public blockchain? Why is there a distinction between them? And in what cases would you like to choose a private one or a public one? And then, to make things even more complicated, why would you want a crossover or a combination of the two types of blockchain in one project? And is that done in real life project? Of course, at the end, we will have a few conclusions. Let me rush you through it. But first, let's start. What is the problem with private and public blockchains? What is the distinction between them? This is, of course, a great topic, and it's a topic between on a dimensional scale, I think. On the one hand, you have these free, public, permissionless blockchains, here depicted with the motorcycle, giving you freedom. And on the other hand, you have private, well-organized, in one organization blockchains, which have a high level of control. They are organizable. When you look at Bitcoin, which is a prototypical public blockchain, you see that there is a decentralized network of nodes. And every node contains the complete ledger, let's see, the complete book of all transactions, or the complete set of data that is available in the network. And every node, all nodes together, are responsible for consistency. So they mean they have a kind of defense mechanism against people or nodes that try to tamper with the data. When you look at Hyperledger Fabric, which could be an example of a private blockchain, well, you more or less see the same kind of features. It's a decentralized network of nodes. Every node contains the complete ledger. And also, these nodes are responsible for consistency in the network. So, is there any difference then? So, Bitcoin being the public blockchain and Hyperledger being an example of a private blockchain, is there any difference between them? Well, of course, yes, there is. And the difference may become clear with this picture. On the left-hand side, you see the public blockchain. And here you see three nodes with these computer icons connected. And every node contains all the data that is available in the public network. And on the other end, you see on the right-hand side, you see a schematic overview of a private blockchain. But the example are the locks. The mechanism that is used to add a node in a private blockchain network is a controlled process. So not every node can just be added. There is a kind of specific onboarding process, and there is a controlled way of adding nodes. So that means on the left-hand side, there is a trust issue. You cannot be sure that every node in a public blockchain network will be trustworthy. On the right-hand side, these trust issues are less prominent. Because of the onboarding mechanism, you can be sure that a node that is added to the network is a trustworthy node and tries to be a good citizen within the network. When you compare public blockchains and private blockchains, maybe this table is of use. And here you see them as two columns, and you see 4 distinct criteria. Well, on the public blockchain, you can see that the access level, anyone can add a node to this network. And in the private blockchain, this is organized. It's an organization. Not everyone can be member of that organization. There is a test, or there is a kind of admission procedure before you can be part of that organization. When you look at the row participation, you see that in the public blockchain, the word is used permissionless. And that means that there is no permission needed to be added to that network. So that's also to some extent that's anonymous. Of course, your node is visible in a network, but who that node is not very clear. In a private blockchain, however, there is as we stated before, there is a process to add nodes to that network. So a node is more or less known in that network. So in a public blockchain, there's no trust among these nodes. The network cannot trust every node that is in that network. So that means that additional mechanisms are implemented to protect the network against fraud. In a private blockchain, however, there is some trust among these nodes, and the consensus mechanism serves a different purpose. It is used to make the network more resilient against crashes, or it tries to optimize the process for validating transactions between these nodes. On the performance level, you could say, in general, it's not completely true, that public blockchains have a slower transaction speed because their consensus mechanism are used to protect the network against fraud, and that takes some consensus algorithms take more time to do this protection. And private blockchains are usually, or could be, faster. You could have a higher transaction speed. Now, what is now the problem? Why are we having this discussion? Well, when you look at private blockchains, you could see that they are pretty well organizable. I don't know if it's an English word, but it's more easy to organize a private blockchain network when you compare it to a public blockchain network. But on the other hand, a public network is more auditable, because the data is available in that network in a transparent, open way. People can check that data in an open way. And And that's a great feature. So you see that there is this conflict between being organizable or being capable to organize a private blockchain process and being auditable. Now, in some cases, and we'll come to a use case, an example of a use case in a moment, you see that you might want to combine the two. You want to have a fairly easy, organizable blockchain process, but you also want to be auditable. And that's the reason for this presentation. Okay, coming to the next part. Stating the problem, how could we solve it? How could we combine the two blockchain networks, the two basic approaches? Well, let's return to the schema that we had before. On the left-hand side, you see the public blockchain network. And there are nodes, they are connected. There's not really a trustworthy situation. Nodes do not trust each other. There is this consensus algorithm that slows down transactions, but it keeps the network stable and it keeps the trust in the data that is available in the network high. And on the right-hand side, we have a private blockchain network, which is permissioned. Not everybody can play a role in its network. So there is a higher level of trust among these nodes. But data is in this network and is not open to anyone. Now we have two blockchains visible in this picture. On the left-hand side, you see the data of the public blockchain, data A to data D. And on the right-hand side, you see the private blockchain, data 1 to data 4. Imaginary, but okay. Now you could do the following. Imagine that you could pin data that is available in the private blockchain network, and you could pin it to a block or to the public blockchain. So in this example, you see that data 3 is pinned to data E in the public space. When you do this, then data that was previously only visible in the private blockchain network now becomes public and also becomes visible to anyone who wants to audit the data, who wants to see that the data is really there. And if you do this in such a way that you don't lose the connection between data 3 and data E, so that you can prove that data E is derived from data 3, then you have created a crossover. You made data that was previously only visible in the private blockchain, now publicly accessible because it's visible in the public blockchain. Some call this process pinning. You pin something that is privately available now in a public space. Let me give you an example of why this is useful. Well, this is strange, of course, in a very abstract discussion on IT architectures. We're now in Ethiopia, healthcare in Ethiopia. The goal in this project is achieving health and well-being for all. Very good. UN goals on SDG. Very good, very cool. One of the ways that the people are doing this in this project is by having donors like you and me here in the rich Western world sponsor money, and they do this in this results-based financing way. That means that the money is only transferred to Ethiopia when there is a proof that certain things have taken place in a hospital, for instance, in Ethiopia. As an example, donors can sponsor packages like 5 childbirths for, say, €50, I don't know, something like that. The exact numbers I don't have them here now. This money for these 5 childbirths is only transferred if hospital data in Ethiopia can prove that this money is actually transferred. What is done in this project is the following. There is a private blockchain where the number of childbirths that are sponsored by sponsors here in the Netherlands is published in this private blockchain. But now one of the questions in this project is that, oh wow, this is very cool, but we want to make this number of childbirths, we want it also to make it a part of a public blockchain. And why do we want this? We want this to be open and transparent to our sponsors. They should be able to check that we really spend the money on childbirths. So we want to have public available places where we can prove that all the money that was sponsored for childbirth is really spent on childbirth. So we need some place where we can have public data which is undisputed. In order to realize that, they copied, transferred, or pinned, or whatever word you want to use for that, they copied that data from the private blockchain space to the public blockchain space. And they tried to combine in this project two conflicting requirements. On the one hand, to organize the complete process. And to organize the complete process, a private blockchain is a far more easier way to organize the process than a public blockchain. And they combine that with the other conflicting requirement of being auditable. The way that they implemented this connection, they used a technology and implementation, Hyperledger Besu. We're coming to talk about that implementation today too, in this meetup. Well, Hyperledger Besu is an Ethereum client that supports smart contracts, Ethereum virtual machine, and it covers public and private network use cases, which is very cool. This is a way of making this crossover between private blockchains and public blockchains. The nice thing is that it supports multiple consensus algorithms. It supports in the Ethereum world, common proof of work consensus algorithm. That's the common mining on the mainnet of Ethereum. It's pretty slow, to be honest, but they also support proof of authority, and you see that this and that's a much faster way of generating consensus among the nodes. But it's based on the fact that it's based on the idea that networks have participants that are to some level known to each other. So there is some level of trust there. And that's where you see that Hyperledger Besu is a kind of crossover implementation. Okay, let's wrap it up. The gap between public and private blockchain architectures can be closed by implementations like Hyperledger Besu. That's what I just showed to you. Crossing over, as I explained to you, gives the advantage of increased auditability by being public, while keeping the system organizable private. It complicates things, so you should only use it when necessary. And when necessary, that is the use case that you have. If the use case requires you being and organizable and auditable, then you should do so, but don't do it by default.
Okay, so now we know the difference between these two systems and the crossover. Let me check if there are any questions in the chat. No, there are not. So either it has been very, very clear or not. Since there are no questions about Jeroen's talk and Danny is waiting to show his skills with Hyperledger Besu, I think it's best to go straight to Danny, and we'll have some questions afterwards also.
Hello, welcome to my presentation about Hyperledger Besu. My name is Danny Drenthe. I'm a member of the BlockchainLab Drenthe and I'm a tech enthusiast. In this presentation I'm going to give you an overview of the Hyperledger Besu Ethereum network. I will show you what's it all about. I can tell a little bit about what can you do with the Hyperledger Besu. And last but not least, I will give you a demo on how to use the Hyperledger Besu tools and network components. I will try to keep it easy for non-technical people, but no guarantee it won't get messy. So, what's it all about? It's an enterprise-grade Ethereum platform, and the Ethereum network, it's like a next version of the internet called Web 3.0, where all kinds of services are architected in a decentralized manner. For instance, DNS and digital identity and economic interactions and marketplace and tokens, etc. Well, that's a little bit high level way to approach the new internet. Web 3.0 is a term that's important in the blockchain world, so remember that. What's this Web 3.0 playing field all about? It's about a tech stack with 5 levels. On the lowest level we have the internet, connecting protocols. On the highest level, level 4, we have user interface with the browser. And in between there's a lot of components and protocols, but that's not really important. Just forget about it and put it to rest. This is a bit more interesting. It's a visual architecture of a Ethereum network. When we talk about the Ethereum network, we can talk about the network where you exchange the cryptocurrency Ether, but you can also talk about setting up your own network according to Ethereum technology and protocols. And if you look at such a network, it is composed of nodes. Each node is accessible with a thing from the stack called JSON RPC. Each node contains a copy of all the blocks, hence the term blockchain. So the complete Ethereum network is made up of nodes. And each node is composed of a client, a world state, and an API. So when you want to access a Ethereum network, you always have to use the API of one of the nodes. So a client, also known as a node, is used to connect to a blockchain. A node is the only possible way to communicate with the blockchain, and this you have to remember. So now there's a relatively new kit on the block. It's called Hyperledger Besu. It's an open source Ethereum client. It's written in Java, and it is formerly known as Pantheon, developed by Consensus, and it's part of Hyperledger project in 2019. And you can place it on the architecture in this area. It's a client, Ethereum client. So you can use it to run on the Ethereum public network, or you can create your own private permissioned network or public decommissioned network. Hyperledger Besu includes several consensus algorithms, including proof of work, proof of authority. It includes permission schemes designed specifically for users in a consortium environment. And very special, you can create private transactions using zero knowledge methods. So you can encrypt and keep certain information private. That's very nice. So a little bit about the consensus algorithms. In these kind of systems, you have to have a mechanism called the consensus mechanism to agree on that the information is maintained in a timely and correct way. In conventional systems, a single or central authority is in charge of this task. But in distributed ledger technologies, this task is delegated to the system itself. To do this, these systems they need some kind of mechanism that ensures this state. And all participants in the network have to agree on the state. So there are many kinds of these consensus mechanisms, and 3 of them are proof of work. That's mostly used in cryptocurrency. Here you make your vote count on what is the truth of information. Significant effort in time and the money should be made. The second one, it's called proof of stake. I made a mistake here. I said proof of work, but it's proof of stake. And this, in this setup, you make your vote count on what is the truth of information. You have to put in a significant stake, for instance, money, and you put it on the line. That means that if your vote turns out to be wrong or illegit, you lose your stake. So this is if you break the trust, you will lose your stake. And the third one, that's mostly used in the consortia, where parties that know each other decide to use blockchain technology, that one of these partners is being addressed as the authority, and that party decides what the truth is. When you want to use Hyperledger Besu in a public commission setup, the proof of authority is suitable. So a little recap on the types of blockchain. We have 2 dimensions. One of them is the anonymity of the validators. It's called, or you have at the high end you have the public, and on the low end you have the private. The other dimension is the trust in the validators. On the left end you have permissionless, and on the right hand you have permissioned. And in this space all blockchains resides. And on the left top you have permissionless public. That's most of the cryptocurrency blockchains, for instance Bitcoin, Ethereum. On the right you have the permissioned public, for instance Hyperledger Besu. And on the right bottom you have permissioned private, and that's for instance Hyperledger Fabric. This is a kind of diffuse and not really clear spectrum, and you can compare it with a diagram from Escher. It's a bit unclear on how these things really interact with each other and what to do when, but it's a method to place them in a certain segment. So what can we do with Hyperledger Besu? The Besu network leverages a technology as developed by the Ethereum network. So it combines the features of the public Ethereum network with features of commissioned networks. The public features, for instance, are using wallets, explorers, and Web3 technology. Yeah, that's something you do have to remember, Web3 tech stack. It can use distributed apps and, for instance, ERC20 tokens made with Solidity, the programming language. So that's pretty amazing. And the commissioned features make it possible to build complex authorization and encryption schemes to protect data. So basically you get the best of both worlds. It's very nice. An example business case which I found on the internet is the problem of surplus medication, where prescription drugs or materials, the surplus or unused, are mostly destroyed because of regulations and procedures. That way billions of supplies are destroyed every year, while a lot of people don't have access to those supplies, so that's a bit of a waste. Also, the cost of the disposal is high, so it would be wise to come up with a solution to tackle this problem. One issue that arises is that law explicitly prohibits donors for used medicines to ask money for that. When you want to try to fix this problem, the redistribution of surplus medication, you have different issues. One of them is the privacy. One of them is the incentive. So how do you get people to take action in this problem solution? And the third one is control. So you have to do something with the expiration and the validity and quality of the surplus medicine that's being returned or reissued. So for this, blockchain can help you. With blockchain you can make a marketplace of surplus medicine and supplies. You can use pharmacies to control the quality and regulations. You can create incentives with tokenization and tokenomics for participants. You can have a transparent track and trace of goods without revealing too much. And you can connect private and public information using Hyperledger Besu. There's one company, Adoria Soft, that's currently working on such a solution in the United States. I don't know what the stage is right now, but I think they're on the right track and they use Hyperledger Besu for this implementation. So now we get on to the demonstration part. For this demonstration I prepared a little setup. I use Ubuntu, Linux, I use Java, NPM, Node.js, Truffle, old known Truffle. So you have to download the Hyperledger Besu. I will fire the network up. I can check it with MetaMask. Then I can check with the Atlethio blockchain explorer on the transactions I made with MetaMask. Then I will fire up the pet shop and I will adopt some pets. And then I can check again with the explorer on my transactions I just made. So the setup looks like this. We have the JSON RPC as the API layer. We have the client library, in this case the Web3, that you will get in the Truffle pet shop demo. And there's our dep, that's our pet shop, where you can adopt dogs. The network is composed of 3 nodes, and one of them is the miner, and that means that one node actually creates the blocks and the other nodes, they follow and they just copy the blocks. So this one is the authority in the network. So a little recap with some URLs I used to make this demo. So without further ado, let's go to some screens. So, onto our demo. In here you can see I'm running Ubuntu Linux in a Oracle VirtualBox environment. All very technical. If you need assistance with this to try it out yourself and you run into problems, don't hesitate to ask me. I spent a lot of time on figuring out how to get this all to work. But it works. So I have in my screen 3 nodes, node 1, node 2 and node 3. I have 2 screens to fire up the Explorer and one for firing up the pet shop tutorial. When I start up the network, this is node 1, it will check the Genesis file. In the Genesis file there are the private keys and the initial amount of Ethereum that is being created on the 3 accounts that are here. So now it's running, it's waiting for peers. So let's start one up. This is node 2, and you can see in node 1 that peer is coming along. Yeah, so here it is. We have one peer, and peer 1 is it's attaching to the nodes, the blocks from the node 1. For instance, 81858. That's the recent block. So this node 1 is continuously creating blocks, mining blocks, and at this time there are no transactions because there's no app running on the network. So let's fire up node 3. And you will see that the node 1 makes notice of attaching the peer. So we have like 2 peers. This node 3 imports one pending block, which was probably not attached when I shut it down recently. So now it's running. So we can fire up the Explorer, the Block Explorer. That's an application that's running in the browser. So I can take a little look on my new network, and you can see some blocks that are being that were made previously, and it's running right now. So I can make some transaction with MetaMask. MetaMask connects to node 1, 8548, port 8548, and I have one account, and I can send some Ethereum from account 3 to account 5, and I can confirm it, and you will see it pop up in node 1, where it's being inserted into the block that's mined at that moment. Probably will be block 1871 or 1870 that holds the transaction. So if I look in my block explorer, you can indeed see that the recent block 1870, it contains the transaction. There you have it. So it's nice. Now let's fire up the pet shop. And then again we can use the browser to access the pet shop. And from here I can adopt a pet, and when I click on the adopt, a smart contract will fire on the network that I previously created, and the adopt action will be transformed into a transaction on my Besu blockchain. So MetaMask gets involved because I have to pay a little bit of Ether for this action. It's being confirmed, and it will probably end up in block 1877. Yeah, there you have it, and it will be on my Explorer. There's my block, and in here my my smart contract data is it's stored. So if you use the right smart contract access, you can read this data, and you can see that I adapted this dog. So this was my little demo to see that Hyperledger Besu is actually working and what is involved to get it up and running. It's not that much, but it's really technical, and you have to figure out a lot of settings and parameters before you get it running. But it's really clear, and it gives you a good insight in how a blockchain actually works. So I would encourage you to try this at home. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, so now we have seen Hyperledger Besu in action. Don't be fooled by its complexity, right? I mean, Danny shows that in a few small windows, but like he said, there are hours and hours beforehand on figuring things out. But it's really nice that you can have a private blockchain running on one or a few computers and test all these things and learn. Let's see if there are any questions. There was a question about how these nodes can find each other because they are probably on different ports of localhost, and Danny already answered that. Great. Well, if there are no more questions, I'll look at my other computer. No. Then there are a few things I have to do. First of all, I will have to thank Jeroen and Danny for their nice demonstrations and their insights. It's always a lot of work for those 10-20 minutes. You have to invest a lot of time to get everything sorted out and in a presentable way. So I know exactly what you have to do. So thank you. The other thing I have to do is I have to tell you when our next online meetup is, which is on Thursday, May 20th, right? All our meetups are on the third Thursday of the month. So the next one is going to be on May 20th. The address you see here is for our Jitsi meet. After I close this stream, we will go to Jitsi and have some socializing. And you can ask Danny and Jeroen all kinds of stuff about what you saw. I will have to be a real YouTuber and ask you to subscribe to our channel and like and etc. because that will make us a bit higher on the ranking of the YouTube search algorithm. And after 100 subscribers or something, we can choose our own channel name. Hooray! So please hit that button. That is it for today, for this meetup. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, then I hope to see you again next time. And if you have any questions, look on our website, or even join our Discord, where we exchange a lot of information in between our meetups and send each other messages and articles, etc. So if you want to learn more about blockchain, our Discord is a good information source. Like I said, I hope to see you on May 20th and maybe in the Jitsi here afterwards. Thank you very much and goodbye.